So, if you're like me and love unique fan games, especially horror-related ones, you're bound to like this. Or Coronation Day, is a fan game created by 3 people: Underway, Torchkiss, and Medic. Now, a number of YouTubers have discussed this game. KTB has done a complete analysis, and Project Detonate has done a commentary-free version. I personally first saw Space Hamster cover it when I was younger, and it was the one game that I really liked. If you're curious, I would definitely recommend checking out one of the videos first, or even better, playing the game yourself and seeing what you can uncover, as I'm going to spoil the basic plot of this. Links to all the videos will be in the description along with the game, and I'll give you a bit to go check it out. Alright, you ready to go? Fantastic. As for me, I'll be discussing a quick summary, then my thoughts, feelings, and interpretations. Because for something so small, it's jam-packed with loads of details and loose threads to connect. The plot begins simply enough. Mario is trapped within a mysterious forest, with no one else around, not even the typical enemies. The forest starts out serene and peaceful, aside from the eerie atmospheric music and cryptic posts in black text boxes, but it slowly grows dark. Eerie shadows seem to follow you, and you come across bony corpses with blood still around them. And eventually, after passing through a completely black realm, with text speaking of a god of the forest, you get chased by a mangled version of Princess Peach, and either have to get hit by her, or avoid her, in order to get to one of many endings. None of them are particularly happy, but they do lend more to the story of the game. In one, you see Mario building a cabin as the mysterious text boxes egg you on. In another, you play as Princess Peach herself and can either kill or ignore these little dinosaur enemies, which seem to be the only ones in the game. Regardless, Peach either falls down a cliff or into a river as a bridge breaks from underneath her. Eventually, you can uncover the true ending, which involves a cryptic journal entry dated for July 31st, 1992, which eventually proclaims someone, addressed only as he, as a king. In several moments throughout the game, you can find various versions of Princess Peach haunting you, most of which are just out of view unless you move your camera, which also lends to the eerie feeling this game gives, like you're being stalked and you don't even realize it until you look. By far the most disturbing version, and the one this picture is based on, is a version of Peach you can find in a pink forest, a section that got cut from the game, but was still left somewhere within the game for people to find, provided you can hack your way there. We see many versions of Peach throughout the game, and all of them, despite showing some wear and tear, seem to be completely intact. But this version is the large, handless, floating torso with wide black eyes and a wicked grin, a sharp and villainous-looking crown, and 2 pointy horns sprouting from her head. The general consensus of the true ending of the game is that the entity that speaks through the black text boxes is the god of the forest, something that was imprisoned within the trees and released only upon building a cabin, which Mario did possibly at Peach's request. But once the creature gets out, it possesses Peach, and all hell breaks loose, and Mario is left trapped within the forest within a seemingly stable time loop. Honestly, when I first saw it, only 2 endings were out, so I thought that Mario had, possibly through the entity's manipulation, directly caused Peach's death, and is subsequently being haunted by her for it, imprisoned in the forest where she can torment him for eternity. But honestly, that would be too common of an interpretation to go to, and there's definitely more meat here that would be ignored if we had just left it at that. From the start, this game really sets itself apart in how it looks. Set in a location that's just familiar enough that you could believe it's part of the Mushroom Kingdom, but it's just off enough that you can tell you're not directly in it. The overworld pretty much spells it out, as it shows Mario marching in place in the center of a deep forest with no other locations available. The trees here are more normal, but they cover the skies and seemingly tower over everything. There are holes where those little mole enemies have popped out of, but they never appear, just the little dino guys. And the mountains in the background are different from the usual two-eyed mountains, being gray and spotty. It even begins to rain at some point, adding to the unusual but somewhat calming feel. But the text boxes are where the horror starts to come in. The very first one you see just has one word. Again? Lending to the idea that this has happened often, as every successful or failed ending attempt leads right back to that same scene. So if you play the game, you're going to be seeing it a lot. The text boxes will say a variety of things from there, from what seems to be either fragments of conversation or more distressing ones. Some will mention a they or a he in sharp gray or red text. It's unclear of who they're talking about, and personally I feel that they don't refer to just one person. Other times the text boxes will say flat out disturbing things, begging you to help them cut their throat open, or take their lungs out, or beg you to stop that they can't breathe and to bring them back up. Something that is reminiscent of drowning. And the theme of drowning comes up quite often with the text boxes. One specifically saying, "Here I lay in the Peach segment when you stand over the bridge." The bridge will also break under both Peach and Mario in some sections of the game, and one secret Peach you can find is in a seafoam dress, submerged underwater. Another topic that comes up is self-harm, and the black text makes many references to self-harm in many ways, the most obvious one being an in all caps box that says, "I can't stop cutting." There's also a reference to someone removing their lungs, and a theory crafted from these boxes is that this is Peach, most likely under the influence of the god of the forest and forced to mutilate her body before being fully possessed, which would explain the very mutilated form we find in the pink forest. There are more theories that I could mention, but in order to keep this video from being too long, I can only stretch the speed paint footage so far. I'm going to just get right into my own theory. This is something I came up with after seeing the 5th ending again. That ending takes place if you don't leave the spot after starting the game. You have to stay put for an undetermined amount of time, and then 3 dialogue boxes will appear. They go as follows.
Is that really it? You're even more useless than the last one. Thanks for nothing. He is calling for me again. I have to go.
At which point, the game freezes. And when I was sitting there, I couldn't help but wonder, who is the he that this thing is mentioning? I initially thought that it was the entity talking to you, but then that begs the question, who is he? If this entity is the god of the forest, then who does he have to answer to? Which makes me think, is this actually Peach talking to you? This game has brought up the meta element of Mario having unlimited lives. It's subtle, yeah, but it's still there. Such as a crushed version of Mario that can be found in the Pink Forest if you get past Demon Peach, and the various Marios that will appear in the forest at one point. And even the line, "again," hints at the cyclical nature of this game, and Mario's ability to cheat death, One thing to note is that we never find out just what caused Peach's death specifically. We're given two options and a lot of speculation, but never anything concrete. This also applies to the he that the text box keeps mentioning, and given that he as a term has a lot of plasticity, I think it's been used to address both Mario and the entity at times. So what I think the story of this game is this. Mario and Peach went on vacation to this forest, but in order to make the area safer, Mario made the cabin for them to live in and made the bridges for them to cross. Only the trees of this forest were a prison for the god of the forest, and cutting the branches to build these things allowed it to infect its surroundings again. That's why the text boxes egg you on to finish the house. As for the Peach segments, note that they have a hazy, somewhat sepia-toned filter over them, something that's usually reserved for showing something taking place in the past. And given that there are two options for how this segment ends, this may not be a concrete memory, but quite possibly someone imagining what might have happened. So it very much could be Mario imagining what Peach was doing before she died. Since he doesn't know what really happened, that's what he imagines while he torments himself with guilt. But given the higher references to Peach drowning, that's most likely what happened. I mean, the dress of hers is a classic, but all that fabric would weigh you down in water. That and the waters under the bridge were shown to be moving, so they could have been rough. And despite her best efforts to get to shore, Peach succumbed to exhaustion and drowned, Mario working on the cabin and blissfully unaware of her fate. And that's where the god of the forest comes in. It possibly has power over anything that goes into the forest, and it can also lead to it having control over anything that dies in there too. So it revives Peach, only now she's under its control. And she's got quite a bone to pick with Mario. There's a line in the Peach segment, "You built it." And that dialogue isn't directed at Peach. It's Peach of the present haunting Mario's memories of her, and taunting him before revealing that he built the bridge that caused her death. And then afterwards, he tried, again, to undo his mistake with his endless lives, only to have it ultimately end in tragedy. Maybe its alternate name, Coronation Day, hints towards the true ending, where Mario, in his final stand, chooses to burn down the forest, thinking that it would kill the forest god forever. Only instead, he becomes trapped inside the burning forest, while the corrupted Peach and the forest god are free to go rule over the Mushroom Kingdom, and conquer the rest of the world while they're at it. That's why the loop ends in the burning forest, because the forest god doesn't have to rewind time to get the result he wants anymore. And that's why Peach calls us useless, because by not controlling Mario, we aren't guiding him towards freeing them, and she gets called away by the forest god and even closes the game on us. I could go on, but you get the point. The reason why this game sticks out in my memory is the fact that they planned out a story that's just vague enough that it makes you want to pick it apart and search for details, and ultimately come out of it with your own interpretation. And that's what I love about it. I would be lying if I said I didn't want a sequel or a remastered version that expands this game, maybe also gives us a few more clues while we're at it, because I still can't shake the feeling that we're missing one or two pieces that would make everything click. But at the same time, that's the point. After all, a mystery isn't fun anymore if you get every single answer, right? Plus, it's been a long time since the game was initially released, so I doubt we're going to get another version or continuation anytime soon. But with that being said, that concludes my video on the/Coronation Day. Let me know what you think about the game. Definitely check out one or both videos for the full experience. I highly recommend them both. And also play the game if you're in the mood. There's no in-your-face jump scares or screamers or anything. It's just an atmospheric dive into the depths of hell. But I digress. So I hope you enjoyed my speed paint, and I especially hope you enjoyed Creepy Peach staring directly into your soul. And just like her, I will see you all later.